Hey everybody, it's Casual Boops coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be covering the brand new Vipera? Vipera, I think that's how you say it. The brand new Tier 8 Premium Italian tank destroyer, which should be coming at the same time as the rest of the Italian tank destroyer line. And they're all a little weird, but it doesn't matter. So we're talking about this tank especially. First things first, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's not busted. There are situations where it is very strong, and I will talk about those things, but I don't think the thing is super crazy OP. So first, right off the bat, I think you're going to see a lot of reviewers. They're going to say, "Boo, it's so good and it's so overpowered," and I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that. For the starters, it is very slow. It's very slow. Think like I don't know. It's not just about top speed. Although I will say, my understanding is that the top speed is going to be reduced to 30. Right now it's 32. It's going to be reduced to 30 when it's released. So the tanks GG stuff that you see is not quite accurate. And it also turns very slow. It just feels slow. Feels like you're stuck in the mud all the time. Also, the turret is not really a turret. Don't even really think of it like a turret, because it doesn't have like a half turret like a T28 prototype or like an E4. It's got a quarter turret. It's only 45 degrees to one side and 45 degrees to the other side. So it makes it kind of awkward. So it's best to think of this like a turretless, I guess, assault tank destroyer that's meant to be played with heavies that just has a very wide gun arc, because that's kind of what it is. So anyways, without further ado, we'll get into the stats and tell you all about the thing. Okay, so before we actually get into the stats, I just want to show you these two clips really quick that demonstrate a lot. First of all, you'll see the tank is not very fast, but also there's a Renegade here, and he's on full hit points, and I'm going to shoot him once, but you see that this has a clip, it has a 5-round clip, and there's a long time between the rounds, right? And so why does this matter? Well, I'm shooting this guy, and I have shot him now 3 times, but one of his friends shot me in the butt, and I'm probably going to take another hit from this guy. So I came into this engagement with full hit points, and I will kill the Renegade. He's dead now. I shot him for 1,650 damage with my entire clip, but it took me long enough. Oh, I gotta stop this. It took me long enough to do that I got shot by him like 3 times, and his friend once too. So clipping things out isn't really what this tank does. All right, and here's another one. Here's clip number 2. You'll see here I'm coming around. And here's a lone IS 777. I shoot him once, but again, we have a 6-second intra-clip, so it's not really meant to do what I'm trying to do. And luckily, I have a friend here that shoots him 1 time too, and so I managed to shoot him again. And he has a 122 millimeter gun, so he can overmatch. And I'll talk about the armor in a little bit, but like, so that's that was pretty good because I had a teammate to help too, but that's just another example. It takes a long time. Clipping is not really what this tank does. It's not really how you should think about the tank, and I played it wrong a lot. So now we will get into the stats. Okay, so we're talking about the Vipera here, the stats, and just for comparison's sake, I'm going to compare this to a Turtle 1, the Tier 8 tank destroyer for the UK, which has been in the game for some time, because in a lot of ways it's very similar. So firepower, straight off the bat, the Vipera has a 400 millimeter, or sorry, it's a 400 alpha gun relative to the, compared to the 330 damage on the Turtle. It has very similar penetration. The DPM values are not the same, but within the clip time, if you manage to use the DPM of the clip, right, the 6 seconds intra clip, right, that basically is about the same as this for more damage. So it's probably like within the time that you are able to clip something, the DPM is probably better than a Turtle. But then you have to just take 30 seconds, 36 seconds, and I don't know what, some stereotypical Italian thing, make spaghetti, eat some spaghetti instead. So like there is a downtime, and because of that, to have a good game in this thing, you really need the game to be slow. It needs to take a while because it can be difficult to get this tank to, it's not easy to dish out damage. I'll say it like that. So it has worse DPM on paper, but it's an autoloader, but it's a weird autoloader, right? It has a long intra-clip. This might be the longest intra-clip except for the French artillery. 6 seconds. So you really should play this more like a single shot tank that just happens to have to take a smoke break after 5 rounds. And if you do it that, if you play it that way, I think it'll play very familiarly, right? Because at first I tried to play it like a clip tank, and I didn't really enjoy it. Now I'm really also not just a fan of this thing because it's just I don't know what it just feels painful. Just feels painfully slow to me. Um, but gun wise, it's penetration. The standard rounds are about the same. 264 on the premium rounds compared to 253 on the premium round. So it just pens a little more than the turtle, but it's offset. I'll talk about that in just a second here. It's offset by a substantially worse gun. Also, the turtle you can put a rammer on. The Vipera you can't because it's an autoloader. So yes, you get 10 degrees of gun depression, and you get 45 degrees to each side. So it's similar to a turtle because it has the nice wide gun arc. It's a little wider, but like, man, the gun feels really derpy. And I think this is going to train you for the rest of the line too, because my understanding is the rest of the line has a somewhat derpy gun as well. But 0.42 with almost a 3-second aiming time is it's bad. It's bad. The gun is not made for long range work. So you kind of have to be close, but it's also very slow. So it's hard to get, actually, let's talk about the immobility right now. So right now, there's a lot of green over here. This looks like it's probably faster than a turtle. And in some ways it is because the turtle caps out at 20, but of course you can put a turbo on things. And uh, the thing is, like, man, I put a turbo on a Vipera and I didn't even notice a difference. It's just because it's got this 11.72 power to weight. And by the way, this 30 is going to, again, going to go down to 32, or this 32 is going to go down to 30, right? So it'll be even slower. The power to weight being 11 something is just awful. It's just so bad. You put a turbo on there, yeah, you get more top speed, but you don't have the power to weight. You're not getting that bonus. It's just still going to be slow. So I don't recommend throwing a turbo on here, even though it is slow, because it's just not going to help. It does have slightly better ground resistances than a turtle, but it's just slow. And the other thing is, you'll notice here, this is the part that really got me, is the traverse is worse. And I don't know, I can't, it just feels bad. You'll see this in the game. It moves like a hippo, right? Like it's going from 20, almost 20 in a turtle to 16 in a Vipera is like 20% worse. I don't math. It's worse. It feels worse. I didn't like this at all. It felt very sluggish. To try to get the gun on target was not a fun experience. And added to that, the turret traverse is very slow. It's very sluggish. It's very sluggish. Um, the armor we'll talk about. Let me see here. Other things. Jack repair time is not special. Camo, who cares? If you're using camo in this thing, you're doing it wrong. It's not. It is meant to be played up close. Here's another thing that was very annoying. The view range is very bad. 360 is god awful. Just awful. That might be like, oh, that's like Defender. I don't know, whatever. So because of this, you really have to do work to fix this, and I do recommend that you do that, right? So we'll get into the equipment in just a second, but now we're going to talk about the armor. The armor on the thing this is the part where you're going to hear people cry and you're going to say, "Boo, this tank is overpowered, boo," and it isn't. But I will explain why people think that. So let's say you're a tier 7 heavy tank. The answer is fuck off. There's a tiny little cupola that's about 3 pixels high, and I guess that's an option, I guess. But there's no way that you're reliably hitting this. I mean, it's just not going to happen. You could have a tight aiming circle and it still misses, because this is like the stupid Kranvang cupola. Like it's I hate that they do this. So there's the frontal armor of this thing is silly up to a certain point, right? So low tiers, you don't engage this thing frontally. I will say the lower plate, which is not, it's like, again, it's one of those lower plates, right? If you look at the visual model, right? This is not the lower plate. This is the lower plate. So it's like the 268 V4, where it's not actually it's not this, but it's this, right? So that's going to troll people for a little bit until they figure it out. But if you're low tier, you're not engaging from the front. I will say that the side, if you're side scraping in this thing, you're doing it wrong. It's not gonna, these angled fronts are gonna get penned. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and compare it to a tier 8. Same tier, maybe tank destroyer, right? Like let's just say like a Ferdinand. I don't know. Ferdinand's got a pretty good gun. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere because the lower plate is of course still weak. This mid plate is questionable, right? And this is standard rounds from Ferdinand, right? 250 penetration or 250 armor means that if you're just looking straight at it or if you're using some armor, like that's pennable. You can get lucky with standard rounds and pen this. If again, if they're angling, if they're trying to side scrape off of a corner, you never want to side scrape in this thing because the angled shoulder plates, they flatten out, right? That's pretty standard stuff. So that's the thing. If you're using gun depression, then yeah, you probably have a problem. But again, just go to the side. Just go to the side because he can't. He's like a T-Rex with his little tiny arms that he can't turn any faster than any further away than that. So it's worth noting that the entire like, what do I want to say? This whole like upper, oh come on, visual, the entire engine deck, which because of the way this turret is mounted, and it's all very flat and chunky, the entire engine deck kind of extends. There's this little lip, right? And so if you go to live, you see the lip, right? You see this little lip here, and that is because this is the extension of the upper hull, the upper deck, You're gonna upper deck them. You're gonna upper deck it, and you're gonna dunk on this thing because that's a strip of 40 millimeters, and also the roof, the turret roof, as you're looking at it, is 40 millimeters. So what does that mean? If you are shooting at this thing with a tank that has a gun that is 121 millimeters and larger, you are going to overmatch this. So you can aim for this tiny little slit, or you can just shoot it in the forehead, and you're going in. And then, of course, the roof and all that stuff, that's the easy stuff. But even looking straight at this thing, the Vipera is really, really going to have to pick its targets, because if you're trying to face down something that's Russian that has that 122, you're going to have a bad day, and this is why. Or, you know, again, a German 128 does it just the same. So this is something to look out for. And also if, you know, if you start tapping 2, then all of a sudden the armor falls off real bad, right? So tier 8 tank destroyers that tap 2 are going in. And then, of course, you've got your tier 9, let's say a medium tank, like a T20, the prototype thing, shooting standard rounds, 248. Yeah, that's okay. Premium rounds, not so much. I mean, it's all depends on what's shooting at you, right? So and tier 10s, of course, just shit all over this thing, which is fine because it's a tier 8, right? Tier 8 armor should not hold up to tier 10s, and it doesn't. The armor can be good, but it's very sluggish, so it's hard to get this thing. It can be difficult to get this thing into positions to make the armor most effective. So if you find yourself facing off against a Vipera that's hull down, using a bunch of gun depression, yada like this, then just fuck off and let him just sit there, because he's not going to, look at that, he can't even, there's no way to hide that little strip. There's just don't engage that, and then make him try to go somewhere else, and then, you know, when Tubby tries to leave the hull down cover, then you can take him down. But it's not, I mean, it's like, it is a lumbering, sluggish tank, right? So just don't let it be comfy in its little spot, and you'll do just fine against it. Like, I think it's fine. I don't think this is that big of a deal. Of course, tier 8, you know, lower tiers, you just don't even engage. That's just not a thing. So that is the armor, and we'll get into the actual comparison of, or the field mods and equipment. And this is weird, right? Okay, so field mods are easy. Reinforced suspension all the time, parallax adjustment all the time. I'm always taking view range because this is meant to be in somebody's face anyways. I would also recommend the scouting slot, and here's why. Everybody's got a fresh crew, right? So let's just say, even if you do have a pretty good crew with, like, you know, both vision skills and BIA perhaps, and maybe you're even running food like me, you're still not even a decent view range. You're at not even 420 view range. So you need optics. You need optics in this improved slot. And now we're talking 461. This is what I'm talking about. From here, if you're willing to put pink equipment on things, then you need either a improved aiming in that slot and a pink bounty vents, right? This is the shit, I think. Or you could potentially say, if you're not willing to put bounty stuff on, then it's not really worth it to have vents not in that slot. So from there, I would say you could have this, or you could have, I even hesitate to say gun lane drive. But like, because this is an autoloader, you can't mount a you can't mount a V stab, and you can't mount a rammer because it's an autoloader and a tank destroyer. So there's not a lot of really good options. You know, you can make the argument for a rotation mechanism because it's just so freaking slow. Um, in fact, the replay that we're about to see has a gun lane drive on it, and this is coming from somebody who I almost never advocate for gun lane drives on anything, but there's just not very many good options. So yeah, good job, Equipment 2.0. So I guess this is the recommendation that I would personally make. Um, but not everybody has this, so I get that. But the point is, what I'm trying to drive home here is the vision and the gun are the things that you're trying to focus on, because the gun is very derpy, and the view range is very, very bad. Like, if you can't see things, then you're just going to get farmed right on your way to the position. Like, it's just going to be bad. So this is pretty much this is how I would run with it. And yeah, we'll get into the replay. All right, so in this game we're going to be watching ZBest, who's another CC, and you should go check out. I'm going to link his stuff in the description. He streams on Twitch. He has a YouTube channel as well. Go check out his review because he has different thoughts than I do, I'm sure. And he's a much better player than I am, by the way. Very good player, and you're about to see that here. So also, ZBest doesn't shoot anything but premium, so get ready to see a bunch of that. But that being said, we're going to watch ZBest playing his Vipera. It's a tier 8 game. There's also tier 6s, little itty-bitty tier 6s, those poor little lambs. There's one artillery per side, but pay attention to how slow this thing is, right? This, while I've been talking, he's working his way up to the middle because you have to be in a position to, like, control the map, right? If you commit, like, this is very reminiscent to, like, an E3, in that if you choose the wrong area, you just get no damage, right? So, all right, watch this part. Watch him turn the tank. Look at how it's just, now we're turning again, and this is on hard terrain, by the way. Turning, and then the gun. Okay, there we go. And even that aiming circle was not all the way aimed in, by the way. So, like, this is what I'm trying to get at. The gun is not great, and turn the ship. Okay, and that one went where we wanted it to. But again, see how huge the aiming reticle is, how long the intra-clip is, and yes, we're able to punt rounds into these itty-bitty tier 6s, but, like, you know, this isn't this. I don't normally like to show stuff like this because it's like the kind of best case scenario. But again, because it is, we didn't have a lot of time to make this. I only had a couple days to play with it, and all of my games were shit. So here we are. But just pay attention to the good stuff and the bad stuff about it. I mean, he is stunned right now. So there we go. That one goes in. But pay attention to, like, the armor does work because it's tier 6s. But it's very, very slow. So now we're out. We're going to go ahead and reload. And just pay attention to how like, it just, oh my god, it takes forever to go this way, and you get into position. The turning feels very sluggish, even on hard ground. And here we're going to get into position again, and oh my god, okay, we're waiting. And 34 seconds, like, I understand that tier 10 has a relatively short drum reload, but this 34 seconds is pretty significant, right? You notice the downtime, so you definitely need friends. This T-28 is done. He's just out of the game right now. But to be fair, he was gone. I mean, he'd made a lot of mistakes up to that point. But again, look at this. Look at how slow. Oh, get out of the way. Look at how sluggish. It just feels like a hippo. It just turns so slowly. But luckily, ZBest has you know, again, because he's very good, has put himself in a position where he doesn't need to move a lot to have an impact on the game. And so you can see, even with that one, right, like, the reticle, even though he let it fully aim in, the reticle does not get that small. It is not, this is not a tool for long-range work. So it's actually kind of lucky that he's even hitting some of these shots that he is. So now we're gonna just sit and have a smoke break while we reload. And this is one of the things, you really need friends, because during these 34 seconds you can do nothing. If somebody pushes you, you're donezo. So I predict when this thing comes out, you're going to see a lot of people say, "Boh, I'm in a Vipera and I have all kinds of armor and I have a clip," and they're going to run out, and they're probably, maybe they'll clip somebody out, maybe they'll even take a tank with them, but then they'll be out, and then they will die, right? This is just like every other person that thinks that their tank is OP and invincible, and they run out there with their faces. But you really, really do need to have friends because this reload is real. And unfortunately, the Skoda doesn't... He's too committed. If the Skoda could let them back forward, come forward, I mean, he's just dying. It's unfortunate. But once the Skoda dies and these guys push forward, Z-Best is waiting for them to cross this opening so he can get some shots in. And here we go. Okay, KB4. Side of a KB4. And we'll see if we can get a shot in before this guy moves, and you cannot get a shot in. Luckily, this KB4 is not responding to external stimuli. And again, the intra-clip just doesn't really let you, it is a single-shot gun for the most part. So, I think we're now waiting for the KB3, but we do seem to have some people coming in. The 9 line has won, and it seems like the 1-2 line is totally hosed. So, now, I think because our team is making an aggressive play for the cap, Z is about to go turn and help them out, right? But again, pay attention to how slow the thing turns. Look at it, look at it, look at it. He almost didn't even make that turn. So there's something to be said for a rotation mechanism just to fix the awful mobility that this thing has. But the gun is just so dirt. Like, I don't know. I feel like it needs like four or 5 equipment slots just because the gun is so bad and it is so sluggish. But then again, the armor is legit, depending on what's shooting at you. So that's the other thing. Is like a tier 6 SU whatever, the big stupid tank destroyer that hits for, has a 152 or a 122 millimeter that overmatches this. I don't know. The armor will work sometimes, and then when you need it to work, it won't work. So just heads up. But our team is playing this really well. Z-Best is there's a T-52-2 on the cap, so he's providing some cap pressure, and that is forcing their team to come back, even though they really probably wouldn't come back and don't want to come back. Now, they don't know it yet, but Z-Best is here ready to farm them, and oh, here's our first customer. It's this AMX that we missed before. And he realizes now, look at him, he's like, oh shit. Oh no. Oh, this is bad. He realizes how badly he screwed up, and he's about to pull into cover, and so Z puts a shot into this KB3, who also has no idea, but they don't have a choice, right? If you go low, they have to deal with the 703 head-on. So if they want to reset the cap, they need to go high, and so then they need to get shot, and somehow our T-20-2 got shot anyways. I don't understand. Your whole job is to stay hidden from them, but he got shot. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, though. It's still 5-3, and we have a bunch of our hit points. So, like, we're probably going to win this game anyways. But now, luckily, they've paused. They haven't continued pushing while we're sitting here having a smoke break. Wait. Oh. Oh, man. And this is, again, this is kind of like, this is pretty much best case scenario for this tank. So, not every game that you play is going to be like this. You're not often going to be in a situation where you get to just sit stationary, perfectly still, and just put an entire mag into a clip, into the side of tanks as they ignore you. So I normally don't like to show tank reviews that are just like ruffle stomps, but what I'm trying to call out is, yes, it can do these things, but also pay attention to just how, oh my god, how derpy the gun is, and how long it takes to turn, and how slow it is. Like, don't just ignore the negatives. That's what I'm trying to say. So here we are. Alright, so at the end of the game, Z-Best ended up taking home 4,800 damage, 3 kills, 750 blocked, and somehow spotted for 300 as well. That ended up getting the ace tanker, of course, but I think ace tanker requirements are pretty low right now because this tank hasn't been released to the public. This will probably not be an ace in a normal game once it's released. But yes, the high caliber is still a good game, and I believe actually somehow 2 people got a high caliber, right? The AMX on the enemy team also got a high caliber because of the damage that was done. So that's kind of remarkable. But 1,104 base XP, and then also looks like I think, you know, economics wise, I think because Z ended up shooting pretty much all premium rounds, he did pen most of his rounds, so like the total there is probably not correct. I'm pretty sure that he would have lost some amount, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to shoot a lot of premium. I don't think it would have made any difference in this game particularly, but it is what it is. It's going to make money that's about the same as every other premium tank. If you tap 2, then you make less of it. So anyways, fantastic game by ZBest, and thanks again for sending it to me. I appreciate that. And you guys should all go check out his YouTube and his Twitch channel. I'll link that all below. And hopefully this has helped you guys decide, you know, don't fall for the hype, right? Every new tank is always hyped as being super mega awesome and better than everything else that's ever come out. And I think this tank will have a place. Somebody out there is going to love it. It's not for me personally. You might like it, but just sit and think. If you're not sure, if you think maybe you're not, you're on the fence about it, they're going to sell it again in 6 months. So don't feel that you need to buy this, because otherwise you won't ever get it again. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.